What's up, everybody? It's the Common Sense Investor coming at you with another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the settlement standard that the special master has recommended to the judge. Alright, and I'm going to cover a whole lot of other topics. Let me start by saying this, is that over the course of the past 2 years, I remember when this fight started, it was between the retail investors versus the short sellers. And now here we are, 2 years later, faced off in court, and it's yes voters versus no voters. It's AMC versus AMC. And it's a group of people who are ape heavy and are wanting the reverse stock split and the conversion to happen because they can profit, or the long-term shareholders of AMC that's never given up, and now they are embattled with this group in the court. So when we talk about is it over, who's going to win, is the yes vote's going to win, is the no vote's going to win? Basically, that's the battle that we're in. Now, we're going to take a look at the settlement standard that the special master has put in place. All right, and in her report on page 30 of the PDF, it says the settlement standard. Rule 23E requires that the court approve class action settlements. In doing so, the court will consider the probable validity of the claims, the apparent difficulties in enforcing the claims through the courts, the collectability of any judgment recovered, the delay, expense, and trouble of litigation, the amount of the compromise as compared to the amount of the collectability of the judgment, and the views of the parties involved, pro and con. All right. Now, she goes on to say, concerning Rule 23, that the court may consider additional factors such as the diligence of the plaintiffs in investigating their claims. Boy, were they diligent? No. And whether the proposed settlement is supported by the mutual consideration. There is no requirement that the court conduct a trial, but approval of a class action settlement requires more than a cursory review of the issues. All right, and that's where I settled in on my objection or exceptions to the special master. She'll go on to say that the court's job is to weigh the give and the get. All right, and the give is what AMC's willing to give, 1 for every 7.5, and the get is the immunity basically that they're asking for, not to be sued again for fiduciary duties. All right, now, in doing that, she weighed heavily on the financial aspect of the case, okay? And she completely, totally ignored the very first part, which is the probable validity of the claims. And that's where I set in on my argument or exceptions to her recommendations. Let me show you what I wrote. Over here on my document, I'm sending in, which is right here in this envelope that will go out today. All right, I set the settlement standard. All right, and I add in what she excluded. Watch this. Rule 23 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure mandates that the court must assure the settlement is fair, reasonable, and adequate for the members of the class. One of the critical factors that the court must evaluate under Rule 23 is the probable validity of the claims. This entails that the court must evaluate both the legal merits and the evidence supporting the plaintiff's claim. Although there is no requirement that the court conduct a trial, approval of a class action settlement requires more than a cursory review of the issues. And this evaluation is vital as it helps the court to protect the interests of the shareholders. By assessing the probable validity of the claims, the court ensures a more thorough, just examination of the case before approving a settlement. On January 20, 2023, plaintiffs filed a complaint with this court that the defendants had breached their fiduciary duties to shareholders by circumventing the Class A common stock holders' voting rights by, among other things, selling Ape to Ontara, which committed at the outset to approve the certificate of amendments. Allegheny also alleged violations of Section 242. Now watch what I do here. The class member agrees with the special master in her conclusion that plaintiff's Section 242 claim was not likely to succeed. Such an ill-researched claim should have never been filed. In other words, kick rocks with your $20 million request. And no one is attempting to turn back the hands of time. That statement right there is referring to other statements that says that if the judge said that Ape was illegal, there's no way for her to turn back the hands of time because Ape has already been sold into the market. So I'm saying right here, no one's attempting to turn back the hands of time here. However, how the court must turn its attention to whether the defendants breached their fiduciary duty against their shareholders and engaged in a complex and disloyal scheme to corrupt a corporate election. Or can they hide behind the business judgment clause and claim AMC faced imminent bankruptcy as the sole purpose for creating the AMC apes? See, I'm saying there's more to it than just trying to figure out is the one for 7.5 settlement number is fine. Fuck all that. What's the probability that Adam, Aron, and the board did what we are claiming they did? And now, see, here's the thing about the probable validity of the claim. All right, is the claim has been brought, fiduciary duty violations. You created Ape and it harmed us, and you did it on purpose, and you did it for the intention of taking votes away from the common shareholders. So that's without a doubt. But you don't have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. All the judge has to do is look at the paperwork and go, wait a minute, what's the probable chance that Adam, Aron, and the board did what everybody is saying they did? That's the only measure we have to meet. And you can't come but to one conclusion, that it's not only probable, it's most likely. In fact, I can prove it, that AMC created the dividend apes, and then he created the at-the-money apes to be able to water down the voting rights. It's as simple as that. Now, what's the probable validity of that claim? Comment down below and tell me, do you think that maybe he did it? Maybe he did it for that purpose and not for the financial aspect of it as he claims, because we were facing imminent bankruptcy. No. Why? Because Citigroup gave them two other alternatives. Number one, they could file their preferred equity units, give it a dividend, and sell it to institutions. They would buy it. That's how preferred shares work. There was nothing funny about that. That's how preferred shares work. Institutions buy it for the dividend. AMC told them, we can't give a dividend. They said, all right, well then offer your preferred shares to your shareholders first. Give them the opportunity to buy the rights to buy AMC at some point in the future. And that was a good plan too. So then the only question that remains is, why didn't he follow Citigroup's second option, which was sell the preferred shares to the shareholders to raise the capital AMC needed? Instead, he decided he wants to do a 2-for-1 split, make a dividend, water down the dividend and the voting rights, and here we are today. What's the probability that that's what happened? That is what happened. So with that, I think the party's not over, not for us in that courtroom. Now she's going to be looking at, okay, he probably did that. So is one for every 7.5 shares good enough? And the answer is going to be no. All right, because if you consider what happened as she did with the finances of Ape and how the Ape dividend was harmed, then the Ape dividend needs more than a 1 for every 7.5 fucking shares. All right, I remember when it happened, it started at $6.95. So if you're going to talk about a settlement, then with Ape being the Ape dividend being harmed through what Aron did on purpose, then he needs to return that $7.95 a share back to the AMC shareholders. That's the settlement that I want. Now, I did the math on that too. That's like $3.6 billion. Right there. 517 times $6.95 is $3.5 billion. $3.6 billion. How do they pay that back? If as long as you're a shareholder, you receive the restitution plan that I laid out for the judge that the special master said she couldn't do, but she can. So we're not out of this fight yet. I'll be tuning in, watching what's going on with this settlement hearing. I'll be reporting back. I really don't see anything else to talk about between now and then. With that, I love y'all. Be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video.